Hey everyone, I'm Dr. White. Welcome back to another week of spiritual encouragement. I can't tell you how important it is for me to have you as my iron. So thank you for always tuning in and allowing iron to sharpen iron. I happened to be driving one day and listening to 950 AM, which is my typical radio station that I drive and listen to. And during that time, there was a firefighter that was being interviewed. He was talking about a large fire that had occurred in one of our counties and how he and his crew had to go in and put the fire out. The newscaster was asking specific questions about all of the equipment and the fact that it's so cold outside. Does the equipment freeze or does it malfunction? And so he began to explain in intricate detail all of the items that were on the truck that enabled them to do their job. He then went into intricate detail about each piece of equipment that the firefighters use. Then he started to explain how there are mechanisms in place for their safety. Not just their safety, but truly for the safety of others in the community as well. And all of these mechanisms, if they work together in tandem, keep the society safe. As I'm driving, I'm in the book of Leviticus, and I'm thinking about my Bible study. And I'm like, Lord, that kind of sounds like my Bible study. Now, before I started studying the book of Leviticus, I have to tell you that I thought it was a very dry book that only talked about the law. I thought, okay, Lord, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go through this book study on Leviticus. And I started, I'm like, Lord, help me understand, what is it saying? And then all of a sudden, my eyes just opened and my mind just went, the book of Leviticus is so much more than just studying the law. It is a book about God's holiness. It is a book that declares who God is as a holy God and who He wants us to be as His holy people. It is amazing as you journey through the first half of Leviticus, which is where I am right now, kind of going through those first 15 chapters and truly understanding when God says, I want my people to be holy. And when you are not holy, what does it mean when you are unclean versus being clean? God is setting those standards. God is setting those parameters for our safety, for the safety of His people. If He did not set that standard, then we would commingle and go places that we are not supposed to be as Christians. And then we would inevitably be following false gods. And we would then turn the focus to them and not to who gave us an opportunity to be led out of captivity truly in our own lives, because He is holy. I wrote a post a couple days ago about the fact that we sometimes look at what society deems as holy, and we make that our definition of holy. Let me tell you, God's definition of holy supersedes way above anything that we could even begin to think. But the part that I love the most is that there is such a sweet protection within His holiness, because as He calls us to be holy, as He calls you, as He calls me, He's calling us because He wants to protect us and He wants to call us to be set apart, which we see that as a thread throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament, that we are called to be set apart. We are called to be this people that should be peculiar, that we are this people that should look differently than others. We are these people that should walk different, talk different, act different. But the only way to understand what that difference is is to first and foremost recognize his holiness. Because when you can recognize a holy God, all you can do is just bow your head and say, Abba, Father. And when you begin to do that and your eyes open, just like those firefighters, you then begin to see what the equipment on the truck is really meant for. Just like those firefighters that I was just talking about, using the equipment on their truck in a very specific way and understanding the detail of every single piece of equipment, God gives us that in the beautiful love story that he has given in his word. That every piece of scripture has been knitted together in such a beautiful way to cause us to be able to utilize it for our safety, for our benefit, to glorify him, to edify one another, to sharpen iron, as I just mentioned. God has given us equipment. He has given us equipment within his word to utilize on a regular basis in order to be set apart. Now, the question I have for you today, because I always have a question for you. Are you set apart according to God's holiness, or are you set apart according to the world's definition of what is holy? Because what the world says is holy is really profane right now. And I hope you recognize that just by watching the different television shows that are out. Are you set apart? What in your life today? Let's not even talk about last week. Let's talk about right now today. Since you woke up, you may be watching this and it could be 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or you could be watching it and it could be 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So since God allowed your eyes to open, and since God allowed you to have your lungs filled with breath to talk this morning, what have you done to recognize his holiness and to be set apart as a peculiar person? What is one thing? And I want you to share that. You guys are awesome when I ask you to do that. You share in the comments, you share on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, or you DM me. And so I thank you for answering those questions. But I want you to know that answering those questions isn't just because I'm asking you, but answering those questions is for our collective growth as we sharpen each other. So I want to leave you with this. God is a holy, thrice holy, 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 holy God. And he wants us to be set apart. How does that look in your life today? Just today. And my prayer for you is, as you identify today how you are set apart, that you can grow on that tomorrow. And you can use that to sharpen someone else and have them grow. Because as Christians, as we set the bar higher and higher and higher, and society sets the bar lower and lower and lower, then we begin to elevate the name of Christ higher and higher and higher. How are you set apart? Until next time.